So my first trafficker was my mother, who started selling me to the landlord. And the landlord was part of a pedophile ring. This all became very normal for me, you know. When I reported it to my mom and she did nothing about it, I realized that nobody was going to ever do anything about this. So by the time I was 9 years old, my behavior became so difficult and just outrageous for my mother to deal with, and for schools and just in general. The emotional trauma of what I've been going through manifested in really extreme behavior problems. And so I ended up in foster homes, eventually in group homes, because even foster homes weren't well equipped to deal with a child like me. In group home, I was abused there by some of the older boys, and one of them in particular started pimping me in the streets. So I've been pimp trafficked, familial trafficked, and then by the time I was 18 and I was on the streets on my own and had no pimp, I was survival sex and having to do whatever I could to survive in that space. So young men and boys and grown men who have experienced this, we shut down and we do not talk about this. And we will overcompensate and become overly male, overly aggressive, overly violent, and really not disconnect from our emotions. Later on, you know, when I was being trafficked on the streets, there were times when I would come to the emergency room. I had broken ribs and I'd been raped and by my trafficker because I didn't comply. I'm living on the streets. I'm dressed kind of dirty clothes. I obviously hadn't washed, and nobody asked, how did this happen to you? They just, you know, saw me as one of those street kids, you know, who is part of the problem of society. The difficulty for healthcare workers is really challenging. And you can't even really rely on just one red flag. Plenty of perfectly normal, healthy kids may exhibit one red flag. It's multiple red flags that then begin to start to trigger, like, we need to look deeper into this. I think ultimately what I'd like to leave people with is that if you don't know to look for something, you're never gonna see it. So if you're not looking for boys as potential victims of trafficking, you're never gonna find a boy. You could be sitting right in front of you. You're never gonna even think about him being a possible victim of trafficking.